kind with finger.
Hi Deb, how are you doing?
I'm good.
Good. We're here for the mid-year conference for our SLOs, really to see kind of how your SLO is going and kind of look at the data and see if we need any adjustments. So we're going to kind of follow through this format of really just talking about how it's going, looking at data and seeing if we need to readjust any of the goals or the actions today.
Okay.
So that's what we're going to look through. So if you want to just start by telling me a little bit about how your SLO is going, and it's in the area of narrative writing. And I think it's 70% of our students will independently demonstrate their grade level proficiency on the rubric for writing. So how is it going for you?
Pretty good. I mean, I think I was, obviously not that close to 70% right now, but I saw that we did make growth from the beginning.
If you look at the data, where we're at, we're looking at 70, is a little rigorous. You started at 13% for your baseline, and we're about 36% in that February date. So that is good growth.
Right.
That you've seen.
I know that I didn't cover temporal words a whole lot before that, so I feel that I talked to my team about that too, that I feel like it could be higher if I will hit that a little bit more.
Yeah, the temporal words, and then I also noticed one of the things that you were looking at was elaboration and detail, and I noticed that in your small group writing. How have kids been doing with that part of the rubric?
I think that I've been meeting with, I took these areas and I listed the kids that needed work in those areas, and so there were about 8 kids that needed work with details and elaboration, and so I've been taking them in small groups, and I can see that they're starting to get the ideas of how to add details to each event and make it more interesting.
Yeah, and I think the interesting piece of it is a lot of these criteria that we have on the rubric are a lot different with the Common Core, so that's natural if kids haven't been exposed to elaboration, to those temporal words, that probably would cause some difficulty. Right. And you already started kind of going into that data analysis. I have your kids' data here, right here on the writing, with the kids that scored a 3 or a 4 on the rubric, and as I said, we're at 36%. We're kind of looking to project at the end of May where we want those kids to be, and I know you had said some with temporal words might be able to get there, but there's a couple ways to look at it, and maybe we want to look kind of at some of our individuals and look and see what are the kids maybe that we can project out that we think might meet that criteria, so we can have a reasonable goal, because I do think 70 was rigorous, but that was a goal we set based on no baseline data, and this is the first time with Common Core, so that's the beauty of these conferences, that we can adjust that. So if we're looking at some of our students here, what are your thoughts on some of those kids maybe moving? I know some of the 2s.
I think Brandon for sure can. Yeah.
And I think we have Peyton.
Peyton had his was a lot more adding details, and he's in one of those small groups that I'm working with and adding details.
So he's showing progress with that. And then Gabriella.
Gabby can.
Gabby.
Yeah, she did.
So those would be kind of those 2s, and then I think it's kind of looking at that next group of some of the kids that have 1 standards, if they could meet it, what that would look like. And when I look at that, that's adding 3 more of the kids that made it. So just adding the 2s, we'd be at about 50% would be that. And then if we look at some of the 1s, kind of looking from there, we could get up maybe to 64. So I don't know where you think Ethan's writing.
He can get, I think Ethan can get.
Ethan, okay. If you want to go through the list and kind of see who
Madison can, and she's been generating a lot more writing.
Okay.
Too. Dominic, yeah, I think he could too.
I think he could as well. Okay. Are there any others that we're missing?
I think Matthew can.
Okay. Yes, I did see him. I noticed him in small group today. Yeah. He was kind of the leader of the pack there.
Yeah. So, because he's got the conventions too as well. So I think it was just. He sometimes has trouble with sequencing, and I think he's getting better at that as well.
And you can kind of see his sequencing even when he's speaking.
Yes.
It's kind of all over the place. So are there any others where you think that's pretty much a...
Mariana's been doing print a lot better too, but Luis might be able to do that. He might be able to get there.
So should we look, and that would be adding 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 more, so we'd be
Okay.
looking at 16 out of 22.
Oh, about a 23, because
Out of 23.
Matthew's not on there, because he's new.
Oh, okay, out of 23. So we're looking at 69%.
Okay.
You had 70, I don't know, do you want to change it to 69 to make it, I think it's rigorous when you're moving kids, you know, getting two standards down pat.
4, 5, 6, 7, 8 kids to.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe.
So maybe
69.
69 or
Mhm.
68? I don't know.
68. maybe.
68,
Just-
okay. So we'll kind of adjust, and I think one of the things too is looking at some of these kids and saying, and you went through that, exactly what they need and how we can get those small groups, and if it's feasible, and I think the feedback piece is that whole piece, but I think you have that small group writing piece in place, so you can kind of focus on,
Okay.
maybe just focus on the kids that have the needs right now instead of some of the extension
Extension
pieces. Yeah, that sounds good. So I think that change still keeps it rigorous, and I think it's realistic. And I
Okay.
think that's the big piece. We don't want these to be too far of a stretch that we don't see that success with the kids. And when I look at a baseline of 13% and moving to this, you've got to be proud of that growth from your teaching with that. Some of the actions that you had on here, on the original piece, we're using the continuum for kids to self and peer assess their writing, lab classroom observations, maybe looking at professional reading on that, on writing, mentor texts, small group writing, which you've got down pat, kids publishing books in the publishing center, book celebrations, and then really that planning of lessons, and then feedback from our literacy coach.
Okay.
Are there like maybe one or two of these that we want to focus on for the last trimester, or are there different actions that you think we could get the biggest bang for our buck maybe?
I could definitely have Sue come in again. She
Mm-hmm.
did the details, she observed that, but I could have her come in with the temporal words, which I haven't covered as much.
Yeah, I think that would be great to give some feedback. And how do you use temporal words in an authentic way instead of
Right.
just first, next, and
Right,
last?
and just sticking them in there to have them in there, right.
Yeah, I think that would be great.
My team, for part of our hours that we have to make up for the snow day, are planning small group lessons for the writing rubrics.
Yeah. That should
That
help
will
too.
yeah.
So I think those are great goals for that at that end of the year, and realistic goals, you know, because you're continuing that small group. And I
And
think
I'd like to do some book celebrations, I haven't done that yet. So.
okay. So that might be something as a grade level, or maybe even larger groups that we could do some book celebrations as a school. And we do have all of the books in the publishing center that you can certainly use.
Okay.
Even if you want kids to do it, it doesn't have to be through the publishing center. You can help yourself
Okay.
to those too. But just to celebrate, and I think that's the one thing I want you to think about is our staff meeting when we were reading about reading some of the kids' writing, it really showed that growth that we had. And I think sometimes we as teachers don't take that time to really celebrate, but when you look at this number of kids that you've already met the end of the year target, we're already at 36, and thinking that first year, looking at the Common Core, we're looking at 68% of our kids getting there with these rigorous standards, I think you can be proud and all the changing with that. So
I
kind
think
of,
it's helped me focus on writing better
Mhm.
than I was maybe in the past.
yeah, and I think that's one thing, when we're focused, it helps us kind of develop our practice and helps move in that direction. So I think the big things that we are going to do is adjust it to 68%.
Okay.
And then kind of your big actions is really to get some feedback from Sue as our instructional coach on the temporal words, continue to work on small group writing routines with your team and kind of teaching pieces, and then that book celebration piece with that. And if there's other support that you need from me, certainly let me know, and we can continue to monitor where kids are at.
Okay.
Thank you.
you.